understand that, so that way you can have your message from your standpoint be more prominent, more influential. You know, so it's not like, oh, I'm a European woman and I'm trying to relate or feel like I'm trying to fit in. I'm just standing on what's best from my point of view as a woman and as a European woman. Also, the fact that trying to address ourselves as white and black, that's something that we shouldn't be doing. Because you notice I address you as a European woman, not a white woman. Your ancestors don't come from a place called white. Your ancestors come from Europe. My ancestors come from Africa, here, and all across the other parts of the world. So that's something that we as American citizens have to understand. That's how we get our actual power. Is understanding one another and understanding the truth about one another. Do you know, when one of the first, lack of better term, the first African American judge was? What year the first African American judge existed? Take a guess. You have a 20 year. 1980, 1990, right? But the actual first African American judge was in 1770.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, the first president of the United States was African American. Before George Washington. There was 8 presidents before George Washington. And John Hanson was the first one in the history of the American government. But they don't tell you about that. And his name is John Hanson. He's on the back of the $2 bill.
Would you write down some
I'll give you all the information.
Would you write down
This is
some
what the
literature?
More Scientific America teaches.
Yeah.
It's important to we teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice so that people can understand the truth about who we are and what we're not. And when we get all these things understood, then we can learn to live in harmony with one another. Because our history as so-called black people, our history has been destroyed, and the European perspective in America has been destroyed. Right? The
Nice
first
to meet you
American,
too. Thank you.
in
Yes,
the dictionary,
thank you.
Webster's dictionary, were the copper-colored natives found by the Europeans. You see what I'm saying? So they
also had their identities destroyed.
and the thing is that the federal government end up calling American Indians Negroes. So they stripped them from the Africans that were already here over 10,000 years ago here in America. They stripped them and called them Negroes and said that they were from Africa. My ancestors have been here for thousands of years, and I can prove it. And so that's the thing. My ancestors didn't come from Africa on the slave ship. I can prove that. Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, not the ones on the reservations. Those are the ones that were subjugated and hoodwinked and changed and manipulated to think that they were a part of something that they really weren't. Last thing I'll say is, because I'm going to write all this down for you. Last thing I'll say is, do you know who George Washington got his assistance to establish the United States government? It was the Iroquois Confederation. So a lot of our people have this disdain for confederation and confederacy, when the Confederation was actually established by African Americans that were here in America. Not from Africa in the sense of they were brought here on slave ships. They were already here. We already had a government here. It was called Estados de República Americanos. That was already in the United States of America here. Before George Washington, any European came here, the United States existed already over here. They had the Law of Great Peace, was a constitution that they already established, the 5 civilized tribes. And so those tribes banded together and made a confederation. And then the Europeans came over here because they were leaving from King George, right? We know that story. But they don't tell you that King George was a mulatto.
Okay,
King
honey, here
George
we
was
go.
half African, half European. And he was a tyrant. He was a very disrespectful king. And he subjugated everyone under his rulership. A lot of our people that like to do Afrocentric pride, right? They say, oh, well, he was African, so that's good. Well, he was African. He ruled in Europe. He was a European ruler, but he was African, dark complexion. He still was a complete rude man. That has nothing to do with, anything but the fact that he did things wrong, and people did not want to be under his rulership, so they fled. And when they fled, they got their permission from the Sultan of Morocco, who ruled the whole entire Moorish nation. North Africa, Northwest Africa, Southwest Africa, all across the Atlantic to the Americas. This was in 1787. It's because the Treaty of Peace and Friendship with Morocco and the United States. And unfortunately, when things like this happen, this history might go public, and then people get it. It gets covered, like they get sideswiped. You know, so they you know, when not Abraham Lincoln, but when Barack Obama was in presidency, he shared this information publicly. But people want to be focused on the fact that he's this complexion or he's that complexion or he's opposing this bill or opposing that bill, and they completely miss the whole entire message. It's a system of not only oppression but manipulation that the federal government does to get the American people to be against one another, because that's how they divide and conquer.
That's how they keep power.
So when people get an understanding of what really happened,
Decree, come here.
everything changes. Everything changes for the better. And it starts by
Okay,
teaching the
just a
baby.
minute. Okay, just a
You
minute.
know, and so this message was taught and brought by Marcus Garvey and a man named Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Scientific of America in 1913, and Marcus Garvey established the Universal Negro Improvement Association in 1914. And from their teachings, what came out of that was not only the Berlin Conference, the United Nations, and the African Union, and the independence of several different African states, because they got their philosophies and they brought them across the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And the last person was Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh got the independence from Britain from when he went to Harlem, New York in the 20s and went to a lecture by Marcus Garvey and then and got his people their independence from Britain. And that's where Vietnam is now where it's at today, from their independence when they broke away from the British rule. You know, it's a lot of information, but it's important for people to know though, because that's the fundamentals to how we can understand and how to deal with what we got going on today. It's not like I used to think when I was younger, still young, but when I was younger, I used to think, I used to be told that the history was irrelevant. Well, the history is very important, especially when you know the proper history. You know, there was a time where Europeans were just called by their native name. They weren't called white. A band of individuals came together and said, we're going to actually manipulate the system in American society, because all these people who are already here, they already got their own unity. We had Black Wall Street. Before Wall Street existed, we had Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had our own economy. We owned everything. We had Rosewood. We had cities in California. We had the cities all across the country that we owned, because in 1865, when we got out of slavery, physical slavery, we were judges, mayors, sheriffs in the South. Not just in the North, in the South. We were running a whole bunch of cities in the South. That's when the Ku Klux Klan was formed, from the Democratic Party, and that's what you got today. And this is just an understanding that people got to have. You know, since the 1920s, our people were Republicans. Madam C.J. Walker is one of the self-made multimillionaires from our people, made millions of dollars. Was with the presidents of that time, best friends. You know, and it's just a sad thing that our people, my people, and American people in general have been lied to so much, and these dialogues have to happen more than they have been. And if hope you're recording, you just take pictures. Good, because it's our press, our media, you know, to really get a
I'm just here to amplify your message, man.
yeah, well, we got to, and the truth is, it's one message, you know, because there's one God, one aim, one destiny, and there's one God known by many different names.
But I don't feel prosecuted and tracked down in the street or in my bed, or I don't feel afraid.
Right.
I don't feel afraid to be a mom. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel afraid for my nephews and nieces and daughter to walk down the street safely and not be harassed by police who
Yeah, it has to change.
it has to change.
And it's predicated off of many different things. Galvanizing the local people, grassroots. You know, they don't even tell you that about the Black Panther Party. My grandfather was the Black Panther. And my grandfather and many others of my cousins and uncles that got the charter from California to bring it to Washington to have the Black Panther chapter out there. You know, the Black Panther chapter out here as well. And they actually started to reduce lunch. And the federal government took that program from the Black Panther Party and took it for themselves. And then federal J. Edgar Hoover then instituted a program called COINTELPRO, and and they wanted to institute things like dismantling black movements that were for the upliftment of black people, and they're called terrorist groups. So there's a lot of misconceptions, and one of them particularly is also dealing with Islam. Our people practice Islam here before they practice Christianity.
Okay, give me one more minute.
People don't know that. Our people don't know that. They don't know that there was a chief who was a Cherokee, who was a Muslim, and his name represents one of the holy months called Ramadan. That was in his name. He was a Cherokee chief, and he was a Muslim. That was in the 1800s. They don't tell you that Thomas Jefferson and many other his partners had Qurans in their personal library, because these individuals were part of secret societies known as the Masonry,
Okay.
Shriners,
Just one more minute, okay?
different
One more
secret
minute,
societies
please.
and orders, Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, Knights of Equestrian. These individuals have ulterior motives and agendas, and it's important for our people and the people of America to really know about what's going on. There's no more time for conspiracies or anything like that. It's important to work on not allowing our emotions to get the best of us, because I know you get emotional, I get emotional too. We got to utilize logic and reason and infuse it with the emotions so that we can have a clear direction of where we're going, so we don't get distracted. Because that's what people try to do, like the opposing forces, if you will. They try to get at your emotions so they can distract you. But that emotion, that energy in motion has to be cultivated properly so we can be successful. That's what it's dealing with, you know, and it's, but I can write that stuff down for you. I wanted to share a little bit because the message has to get out there.
It does. It does.
You know, and people.
And I want to be better educated about
And that's what it's about.
history
That willingness.
that we're dealing with, that we're trying to